Special edition video showing the fastest rare vehicles in GTA Online around a circuit. Now, these have all been tested in a variety of ways, but the defining characteristic of these vehicles is that they can't normally be accessed in GTA Online. After this video, I will have tested every single land vehicle in the game, so if you do want to know how all vehicles perform in a variety of different classes and formats, check the annotation on the screen or the link in the description for the full playlist of videos, and of course feel free to subscribe for future updates. So first up, in 25th place for this video is the Tractor. Obviously it's very rusty, very slow, 3 minutes 28 isn't a great lap time, but it certainly isn't the slowest vehicle that we've seen throughout the course of this testing. Now just ahead of that in 24th place is the Cutter. The Cutter is absolutely ridiculous. This is a huge vehicle, very difficult to control. It's only the second vehicle that I've ever used and tested that you have to steer using the rear wheels. Ultimately the 3 minute 20 lap time puts it in 7th place in the Industrials class. Now in 23rd place is the Fixster. The Fixster is very similar to the race bikes, the racing cycles in terms of the way it looks and the way it acts, but it is about 6 seconds per lap slower than the race bikes. Ultimately it is still the second quickest cycle in the game though. Now in 22nd place is the Dock Tug. This is the 11th best utility vehicle in the game with a 1 minute 58.5. You can attach trailers to it, but it is not quite as quick as all of the regular vehicles that you can also attach trailers to. Now in 21st place is the Pounder. This is the 9th best commercial vehicle in the game. It's not all that quick. It does have a big jump in lap time from what we've just seen with a 147.1, but it's just a little bit too big to get around those corners effectively. In 20th place is the 3rd best service vehicle in the game out of only 5, and that is the Rental Shuttle Bus. This is the only one that we needed to test to complete that service vehicles list. A 146.6, not all that great really, but you can obviously transport 10 people in it. Now in 19th is the first of 3 different utility trucks, and this is the Cherry Picker variety. The 8th best utility vehicle. Just like the police cruisers, they are all called utility truck, but there are 3 separate varieties, and that's what we'll see here. 144.6 for that, and then with a 144.0 just ahead of it is the Biff from the commercials class. This is the 7th best commercial vehicle, so we've finally finished the commercial vehicles there, but ultimately it didn't change the overall list. The Biff's just a sort of standard vehicle in that respect. Just ahead of that though is the second utility truck that we'll see here with a 142.0. It's about 2 seconds quicker than the Cherry Picker variety. Whatever's on the back of it, it doesn't matter as long as it's got that front and it isn't the Cherry Picker. That is that kind of utility truck. So just ahead of that in 16th is the rusty version of the Caddy, which is slightly slower than the regular version of the Caddy by a few tenths of a second, but ultimately they are very similar. And then just ahead of that is the last utility truck that we'll see, and that is the van variety of utility truck. With a 141.1, it's about a second quicker than the previous utility truck. 4th best utility vehicle in the game, and the 3rd best utility vehicle in the game is the large tow truck with a 1 minute 37. This isn't too bad of a lap time really, you know, it's not that bad. 14th best in this video obviously, but just ahead of that is actually the small utility truck, and this is the 2nd best utility vehicle in the game. This can actually be upgraded at Los Santos Customs in single player, and that's why it gets such a difference in lap time there. When it isn't upgraded, it gets about the same lap time as the large tow truck. So 132.7 there. Then we take a big jump in lap time here to the Lost Slam Van in 12th place with a 1 minute 24.9. This can't be upgraded. The only way to access it is a respawn vehicle in captures, but ultimately a 124.9 isn't too bad. It would be interesting to see how it does when it's upgraded, but it is only the 22nd best muscle car in the game. Now in 11th place we've got the Space Docker, just slightly ahead of the Lost Slam Van with another 124.9. 20th best off-road vehicle in the game. It's not going to break any records or anything like that, and you can't actually upgrade it, so it's not all that great, but it is a very fun vehicle. In 10th place is the Lifeguard. This is the 11th best emergency vehicle in the game, and this defining characteristic of this is that it is only rear wheel drive, whereas all of the other Granger variants, such as the regular Granger or the FIB Granger or the Park Ranger for example, they are all wheel drive, and that really shows here because the Lifeguard is slower than all of those other variants. Now in 9th place is the unmarked Cruiser. This is very similar to the Sheriff Cruiser and the Police Cruiser variant that we'll see in a second. A 117.0, so we've taken another big jump in lap time. We're starting to get some reasonably decent lap times at this point. The 6th best emergency vehicle in the game. It's pretty standard in that it has reasonable traction around the corners. It's quite quick around the corners, but it just lacks that overall power. Now, just ahead of that, in 8th place for this video is the regular Police Cruiser. Again, this is the Stania version, or what is dubbed to be the Stania version. A 116.8, not all that different to the unmarked Cruiser, but they are certainly quicker than the Sheriff Cruiser that we saw in the emergency vehicles video. So we're kind of wrapping up the emergency class at this point. This is the 5th best emergency vehicle in the game. Certainly the worst of the 3 varieties of Police Cruiser. And then just ahead of that is surprisingly the Blister Compact Race Car in 7th place. This is the 27th best sports car in the game, which means that it's the 2nd worst. And it's only the 2nd worst because the regular Blister Compact is worse than it. And in actual fact, the Blister Compact, the race car version, the Go-Go Monkey Blister, which is this one, is exactly the same in terms of stats as the regular Blister Compact. There's absolutely no difference there. So that's very unique that the race car versions from the stock car races, the Blister Compact is exactly the same as the normal variant, which is a bit of a disappointment. So in 6th place is the 3rd best emergency vehicle in the game, and that is the other type of Police Cruiser, which is the Buffalo variant, based off the regular Buffalo. A 114.8, this is actually quicker than the FIB variant of the Buffalo as well. And it's quite nice to drive, you know, it's really well balanced, it feels nice to drive, but it's still nowhere near as quick as the regular Police Cruiser, the Interceptor variant that we saw in the emergency vehicles video. So, top 5 now, and in 5th place is the Redwood Gauntlet. The Gauntlet race car, a 1 minute 12.7 this gets. These are all fully upgraded from this point. Obviously the tow truck was the only one that we had upgraded earlier on in the video, but now all of these cars are fully upgraded, and those are the lap times that you're going to see. So 112.1 isn't too bad. It is nearly a second quicker than the regular Gauntlet, but obviously it still suffers from not having that spoiler on the back, so it is only the 12th best muscle car in the game. Just ahead of that in 4th place is the 8th best muscle car in the game, and that is the Stallion race car. So the Burgershot Stallion these are all obviously from the single player stock car races. A 1 minute 11.7 is again a little bit quicker than the regular Stallion. It's not too bad to drive, you know, but ultimately it does lack a little bit of pace for the top muscle cars. But the top of the muscle cars class is very, very close in terms of lap time. This is the 8th best muscle car, and it's only about 2 seconds off. So, top 3, and this one probably might be a bit of a surprise to some people, but this is the Duke of Death. Now, this only gets a lap time of 1 minute 10.1, which on the face of it seems like a very, very quick lap time, and it is, you know, it's the 4th best muscle car in the game, but it's actually slower than the regular Dukes, despite having a little bit more engine power, and that's because it's so damn heavy. It is very, very, very heavy, has a lot of weight behind it. It doesn't do very well in terms of acceleration out of the corners. It also has a very high drag coefficient as well, which means it's not that great on the straights, and it counteracts that high engine power. So it is a very, very quick car, but it's just slightly slower than the regular Dukes. Now in 2nd place is the Pisswasser Dominator, the Dominator race car, the new best muscle car in the entire game with a 1 minute 8.5. That is more than a second per lap quicker than the regular Dominator, which, as we know from the muscle cars video, is already the quickest muscle car in the game. This car is unbelievable, and it's not unusual for me to leave in the whole lap for the 2nd placed vehicle in these videos, but I'm doing it with this because it's just a joy to drive. It's basically everything about the Dominator turned up to 11. It's much more powerful, and it's such a pleasure to drive and try to figure out this car and really get it working. It's the ultimate test of skill, really, this car. You know, the Dominator itself is hard to drive quickly, but this is just even more difficult. And with that 1 minute 8.5 lap time, it would absolutely demolish the muscle cars class. It would be the only thing that you could use in muscle car races if it was in GTA Online. So it's probably a good idea that it isn't in, because the muscle car class is quite well balanced. But ultimately, the Dominator race car is the best muscle car in the game. But the number one spot goes to the Buffalo race car. The Bravado Sprunk Buffalo. It's only the 15th best sports car in the game, but my god is this a good car to drive. It's absolutely beautiful in the exact opposite way to the Dominator that we've just seen. So the Dominator is very powerful, not a lot of grip. The Buffalo race car is wonderfully well balanced. It's very, very smooth over the corners as well, and it's a joy to get around the corners. Both of the top two cars are wonderful to drive for very, very different reasons, and I honestly feel privileged to have been able to take them around the test track, get lap times for them, and that goes for all of the cars that we see here that you can't normally access. So the Buffalo race car gets a 1 minute 7.6, which in terms of the sports class, it's obviously quite a way off the pace of the top cars, but you've got to take into account the fact that this is almost 3 seconds per lap quicker than the regular variant of the Buffalo and the Buffalo S. So all of the race cars that we've seen so far have kind of been around a second quicker, maybe a little over, a little under a second compared to their regular counterparts. The Buffalo race car is much, much quicker than the regular Buffalo, but it still retains that wonderful driving style and the lovely smooth way that it gets around the corners. And both of the top two cars that we've seen are just absolute joys to drive, and I honestly do feel privileged to have been able to test them, been able to test all of these vehicles, finally complete all of the list, so we've done every single vehicle in the game and bring the results to you guys. So let me know all of your thoughts down below. Let me know what you think about this. Were you surprised by any of them? Were there even some cars in there that you didn't even know existed? Let me know down below. If you are new, check out the playlist and it will contain every single vehicle that you could possibly want. There will be a lap time for it because I've done everything at this point. So thank you guys so much for watching. I really, really do appreciate your support. As always, leave a like and leave a comment down below. Subscribe if you're new, and I'll see you next time.